Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Until I met my new best friend, all of my boys say I'm tripping. When they call, I'm not answering. They always get my voicemail 'cause
Alex, are we rolling? We're rolling. Welcome to another episode of Sorry I've Been So Busy. This is the podcast where we talk to very busy people about what they're busy with. Sometimes we talk to not very busy people about what they pretend to be busy with. I'm here with Andrew Goldstein.
At Ange Gold on Twitter, ANGEGOLD. I was delayed there because I was thinking on this particular podcast, we're going to talk to somebody about what they used to be busy with.
Yes, I'm so excited for this guest.
It's very cool. I don't know him, but you guys go way back.
I know, and he has a new documentary.
New documentary.
It's going to be awesome. We're gonna get
it's
way.
A very cool booking.
My name is Matt Goldich, by the way, at Matt Goldich on Twitter, MattGoldich. We're here in the wonderful Showbriz Studios. That's SHOBRIZ Studios on Twitter, YouTube, iTunes page, Facebook. They have a lot of great podcasts here. And
Google Play. Are we on Google Play? I don't know.
Yes.
If we're on Google Play. I just hear that on podcasts.
Speaking of which, by the way, thank you to everyone who's been listening to our show and also rating and reviewing us on iTunes.
Keep them coming. 5-star ratings.
We also are on Twitter at Busy Podcast.
At Busy Podcast, yes.
We have the Sorry I've Been So Busy Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then is there anything else I'm forgetting?
I think that's all of our avenues of promotion.
Yes, we've had so much great feedback about the episode with the ladies from Glow.
The Beatdown Biddies.
Beatdown Biddies. So thank you.
So much fun.
To everybody listening to that. And we really appreciate it. And please, like I said, rate and review us on iTunes. That definitely helps.
But speaking of self-promotion.
Yes.
As this is normally where we shout out a busybody of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I have sort of a personal busybody of the week, which is pretty much everybody who is a big week for me. My series Vidiots, my first show running gig.
Mm-hmm.
It was only supposed to be for MTV International, only supposed to air all over the world, just not here.
Right.
But we beat down some doors and we got on MTV2 and we premiered Thursday, July 20th.
Awesome.
And so we're on every Thursday night on MTV2 at 8:30 p.m. For the foreseeable future, and that's a pretty big deal, and I'm very excited. And so I did a lot of promoting the day of on the 20th, and everybody was very kind, and a lot of love.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So my busybody of the week is everybody that sent me a message or liked a Facebook post or an Instagram post.
A lot of people were sharing.
Yeah.
Did it help the overnights? Were the overnights good?
The overnights were good.
Okay,
The numbers are being crunched.
Good.
Nielsen's.
Yeah.
But it was really exciting.
That's super awesome, and especially because you told me when you first told me you had this gig, you were going to be running the show, and then it's like for MTV International. It's like, oh, okay, and then you're like, it's going to be on MTV. Oh, it's like, oh, it's actually you're running a TV show that people can see it.
It was like bittersweet because it was like, man, we just made this like really fun show with like all of my favorite people in TV. And we were all super proud of it. And we're like, I don't know who. If you go to Israel, you can watch it. If you go to,
by the way, a lot of your Facebook friends do.
True, I did shout that out. But whatever, if you went overseas, you could watch it. But there was no real way without going to like MTVAustralia.com.
Yeah.
So then the fact that it's airing in America now, and people get to watch it. And the feedback's been awesome. So thank you to everybody who watched it. Set your DVRs, set your season passes for Vidiots.
What former Sorry I've Been So Busy guests?
Oh, a lot of people.
Show?
John Friedman.
Definitely people worked on it for sure. Yeah, Stucky and Murray, worked on it.
Murray worked on it. John Friedman worked on it.
Derek Gaines was on it,
Derek Gaines was on it, who's a former guest to the show.
Annie Letterman, right?
Annie Letterman. And hopefully many more, because we had such funny cast members. But also, I do want to shout out Bird Brain, the people at Bird Brain Productions, Ryan Ling and everybody. They make all the code shows, Guy Code, Girl Code. They made Vidiots, and they do great work. And I would love to have Ryan Ling on the show at some point. Sure. He'd be an awesome guest.
Well, mazel to you, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Yes. I have not been.
What have you been busy with?
Well,
I've been busy self-promoting.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've been busy complaining because a major inconvenience has happened in my life which is the most privileged inconvenience ever, but I'm still going to complain about it. So I think I've mentioned it here on the show. The gym that I go to is about at your place of work. Not only at my place of work, it's about 100 steps from my desk. So I literally get up, I walk down a hallway, and the gym is, I work it's on the floor that I work on in my building, like steps away. It's made it so easy. It's literally the first time in my life when I've worked out this regularly. I go to the gym.
It shows.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. My wife actually did say something like for the first time she could see like the beginnings of an ab.
Wow.
Yeah.
An ab.
An ab. Yeah. So, this has been it's made it so easy for me to go to the gym. So, a couple weeks ago, some sort of flooding issue at the gym.
Oh, no.
And it is closed indefinitely.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Now, first of all, there's a couple things you need to know. So because the gym is flooded indefinitely, the New York Sports Club, which is sort of like a block and a half away, has generously they've worked out some deal where you can work out there for free in the meantime. However, the problem is
too far.
It's not that it's too far. It's not a laziness issue. I have such a tight window in the day where I've basically worked it out where I can, something is due at this time, and then I have an hour before I have to be back. So I've worked it out where I can, because the gym is 2 steps away, go there, change, work out, shower, and be back. That no longer is the case. So, because it's literally like a 5-minute walk. And so the timing is all screwed up. Wow. So I have no time to work out anymore. And then beyond that,
white people problems.
Beyond that, here's the even worse issue. The gym is so close to my desk that, and this is the case for many of my male coworkers, it is the closest men's bathroom.
Oh, so you got to go to a new floor.
I now have to walk to a much further away bathroom. And it's really screwed up my day where now I have to think about do I really have to go to the bathroom that bad?
Yeah, is it bad enough that I have to go across the floor?
And I'm I like to pee a lot.
Sure.
Because it's like...
You're a growing man.
It's good to get up every half hour anyway and clear the head and just take a walk. And so it's if you're... I
always do a lap.
If you're at a 4 where you don't really have to pee that bad, but you have a minute and you're going to get up, might as well go pee. Now it's I better wait till it's a 6 or a 7. But then it's you don't want to eat while having to pee, sort of. So I'm whereas before I may have gone every 1 hour, now it's every 2 hours.
So your whole...
The bathroom is so far away.
Your whole comfortable routine has been thrown into chaos.
So these are issues that I think everyone can agree are both A, minor, and B,
major,
super annoying. And, I don't have necessarily...
It's a window into the world of Matt Goldich.
I don't have the right to complain about them, but I am.
This is really what our podcast is about.
Yes.
This is what you are busy with, is trying to navigate... How do I go to the gym now that my gym is flooded?
How do
I go to the bathroom now that I have to walk
And it's going to be a long closure too. It seems like I'm now
somebody
trying to
clog the toilet.
Whether I can start wearing adult diapers at work, so I don't have to go all the way down to the far bathroom.
Daryl Hammond clogged the toilet.
I think it's something more serious than that. There's some sort of decaying, rotting something. I don't know. Well, anyway, that's what I've been busy with. So, thanks for indulging me. And
it's valid. Those are valid complaints.
No, I knew that you would understand.
Of course.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with our guests. For you, the listeners of Sorry I've Been So Busy, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. You can download any book you want. You could download Jensen Karp's book, Kanye West Owes Me $300, his great memoir about being a white teen rapper. We had Jensen on the podcast to talk about his book, and it was awesome, and he's a super interesting guy, so check that out. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Again, that's audibletrial.com/SIBSB for your free audiobook. All right, we're back with our guest for today. Very excited to have him here, a guy that I have wanted to have on forever. But he lives in LA, but he's visiting in town for a very good reason. He has a new documentary called boy, the title is going to give away who our guest is. The title is called "Where Have You Gone, Lou DiMaggio?" And our guest is
right here.
Lou DiMaggio.
I'm right
He's
here.
Welcome to the
We know
show,
where he is.
Lou.
Thank you.
you.
This is so exciting. Lou is a guy that I've known. I met Lou in L.A. And this again, the documentary, first of all, is awesome, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Mm-hmm. We met sort of doing some of what you were talking about because we worked on game shows together.
Yes.
Which is sort of how you eventually started making your living. I forget, was it Pyramid? Was that the one we worked on
That's
together?
the one we worked on, yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun one.
It was pretty easy. I was like,
Yeah.
just sitting around writing
lists of
things.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, Matt loves lists.
I didn't know. It was hard to figure out when I was done.
And we got to be the judges and work the buzzers.
That was not fun.
Yeah, that was stressful.
No, exactly. You did not want to be. You just wanted to hide somewhere when that was happening.
Yeah.
But they ended up giving it to somebody
Who
else.
was the host at the time?
It was this guy. It
wasn't one of the celebrity
No.
incarnations.
It was,
is what you're telling me.
It was Mike Richards,
Right.
who was not Michael Richards Kramer.
Yeah.
And not the hockey player Mike Richards.
Right.
It was Mike Richards, I believe.
The accountant.
Did he briefly host Price is Right? Am I crazy about that, or was he worked on?
I think he was the warm up for one of those shows, one of those big ones.
Yeah.
And but was getting hosting opportunities as well.
Interesting.
And then
This was for GSN. We actually had good celebrities. We had fun celebrities. A lot of it was like the people from Parks and Rec or like Community would come on. And then it was, and then
oh wait, you remember what happened when I was able to get somebody on the show?
no, what happened?
You're going to remember this.
Oh, I do remember now. Yes, this is so funny. Yeah. Lou pulled some strings and because they were really like. I don't want to say they were hurting for celebrities, but
Oh no! Wait! I'm sorry. They had Aida Turturro booked with somebody else from The Sopranos.
They had Aida Turturro booked, yes,
with the other guy. I can't remember his name. The guy Sharippa.
Yeah.
And he canceled.
He doesn't say no to anything.
He canceled. So I said, I know Nick Turturro. I mean,
Nick Turturro from NYPD Blue,
and brother of John,
and they're cousins.
They're cousins too.
Yeah.
So they said, "Oh, that's great. Can you contact him? Can you?" Yeah, sure. And he was, he was psyched to do it. You want to pick it up from there?
I don't remember exactly what happened. I remember
what happened.
He was not great at the game.
He wasn't great at the game.
Yeah.
But not only was he not great at the game, but he would be like, in the middle of a taping, he would go, I don't know, and he would like just ruin all these takes.
He would get very flustered. I don't remember. Did he curse on air at all? Or
he might have.
I mean, obviously he can edit it out, but he'd be like, shit.
What the hell is that? I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Where's Dick Clark?
But then,
and then his cousin came up to him and she goes, he's crazy, right?
Yeah, I know, right? He ate lunch with us too, right? And he was kind of like jumping up on the table. While
It's always good when the celebrity talent eats lunch with the casting crew.
Yeah, I know.
With all
right?
due respect, though, he is a really funny guy.
Oh, he was funny. And
he's hilarious.
Sometimes he would have like a left turn where he would help the person get the answer in a really creative way that no normal person would ever think of.
Yeah, exactly.
What also hurt him was his cousin Aida was actually very good at the game.
Yes,
and so it was a little bit lopsided in favor of whichever contested.
I think fidget spinners came along too late. I think if he had one of those, he would have been so much
They're
better.
made for...
Yeah. The other funny thing about that show was we would prep the contestants and we would tell them all the things that the judges would or wouldn't accept, and we would talk about the judges in the third person, and they didn't know that we were the judges, and so
These asshole judges.
Yeah. We would really blame everything on the judges, but we would be like,
The most fun was when we played the game in the beginning.
oh yeah, you and I. Oh man, do you remember this?
No.
There was okay.
I don't know what you're saying.
We were testing the game out.
No clues whatsoever.
No.
You remember this?
So before, I know, right? That's the worst storytelling device. But it was before the show went on the air. It was before it was in production. We were doing like pre-production test games, and we would just have like the writers and people who work on the show, and like a little board on like a piece of cardboard, just like test out categories. And there was one. The category was Republican politicians, and you and I were paired up, and we had some sort of
who was giving and who was receiving?
Shorthand?
I was giving because we had a shorthand, and I just go, and you go Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's all it took. I literally was like a half a second of just garbled nonsense.
And he doesn't really do impressions.
No, I don't. But that was
every impression he does sounds like Matt.
Yeah, that one was pretty.
Was it Jewy Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Well, now I mean, you got game shows are now primetime television.
I know, right? Yeah,
they're all back.
They always cycle around, you know. And ABC's got all the classic ones.
We'll run through, because I was looking at your IMDb. It's like a who's who of game show, you know, of the best game shows of all time.
Is it?
I think so.
I worked on a couple of good ones. I worked on Weakest Link.
Ben Stein's Money.
Ben Stein's Money.
I won an Emmy for that, by the way.
I saw that
in the documentary.
I'm sorry that I have to bring that up.
No, it's in the documentary.
Yeah, and you can see how much respect I have.
He's wearing it around his neck.
The daytime Emmy is like 5 of those equals a real one. It's sort of like there's some sort of equation.
It's not even really that. It's what it's for. You know, I mean, if you win an Emmy for writing on prime time, if you win an Emmy for acting, you know, it translates into something.
Just say you want it writing for Jimmy Kimmel.
It says writing and it says Comedy Central.
Matt,
so
you won one for Cash Cab.
It was so.
We have 2 game shows.
Yes,
and I had
Emmy winners.
I didn't know you won.
And again, it was like so long after the show actually aired. It was sort of like it felt like it wasn't even like a real thing.
But it didn't impact your career or your wallet, I'm sure.
No, it didn't.
No,
in fact,
so that's what
I was
pissed
so
me off about
it.
This was the big mistake
Unless
I made.
you sell it,
because I was so broke when I won the Emmy that I didn't even. I would have had to buy the statue. They make you pay for it. Like I had to pay like $400 for this.
What?
Because I wasn't one of the main people. I was like one of the so I didn't buy it. I just paid like $20 for the certificate.
Can you retroactively buy it?
I should go back and buy it. Yeah.
Well, I also joined the TV Academy because you're automatically in.
Yeah.
But that's like, you know, screeners from the TV Academy is an avalanche of garbage.
And it's like
who cares?
Episode 7.
Yes, episode 7 of Mad Men. I want the whole series, or leave me alone.
What game shows did you watch growing up?
You know, like the Dating Game, the Newlywed Game.
Those are all back. Yeah.
Yeah, everything that I remember is all back.
Did we work on anything else together?
No, I think that was the only thing
there
we
was
did.
a pilot we worked on together in Van Nuys. It was you were with the.
Oh, that's right. You worked on.
Was it Draw Something?
I didn't remember.
I was writing questions, and you were working. You were like host.
I was working
Who was
with
the host for that.
That was a board game. That
was an app.
It was
that
an app.
Seacrest? No, who was it?
Seacrest was one of the producers. It was Craig Ferguson.
Oh, Craig Ferguson, of course.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
that was a strange one. Yeah,
it was weird.
So,
I just remember at one point it was one of those tapings that went horribly wrong because there was so much technical. They had these they called them Jipads. They were these giant iPads.
Yeah.
And
made out of vaginas.
You just knew that once we started shooting, everything was gonna you know.
Yeah.
And it did go south. And I just remember at one point Craig Ferguson said, "You got one more hour from me, so make the best of it."
Yeah, I think he was helicoptering into Van Nuys from somewhere.
You know,
Jipad sounds like a feminine sanitary product.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like the sponge.
I'm all out of Jipads.
So let's talk about the documentary. So this is something I always sort of knew about you, and then the documentary kind of crystallizes it. Is you were doing stand up in the 80s. Mm-hmm. How'd you start doing stand up? By the way, I have no idea.
I was actually in school for music. I was a guitar player. I wanted to be a jazz guitar player, believe it or not. And I went to school, and I had to fill out a couple of credits. And I took a communications course and an acting course, and it was the same teacher. And, you know, I was who I was. I mean, I was a comedian, but I didn't really think of myself that way. So, you know, I would do monologues and things like that. And she, you know, it's one of those things about the influence a great teacher can have on you. She said to me, she goes, "You're a comedian. Do you know that?" I go, you know, I don't know. People have told me I'm funny or whatever. She goes, "No, you're a comedian, and I'm gonna take you to the Improv Saturday night."
Wow.
She took me to the Improv. A couple other people
in the city. At where was
44th and 9th.
Okay.
And Hell's Kitchen, when Hell's Kitchen was Hell's Kitchen,
right,
folks.
Yeah.
But so you know, transvestites are throwing bottles through the window, and you just live with it. So we. Not that there's anything wrong with transvestites throwing bottles. I know this is a whole new world we live in.
Yeah.
But so
you can't say bottles anymore.
Yes, exactly. Right. So we're watching the show, and I'm completely enthralled.
Yeah.
You had never been to a comedy club
I'd never been to a live.
What year is this, if you don't mind me?
This would have been, I don't know, the early 80s, I guess.
Okay.
But it's like 3 minutes before the comedy boom. Just like it was like when the little speck of matter exploded into the. So she leans over to me at one point and says, like, "You can do that, right? Can't you?" And I go, "Yes." Like, in other words, she pointed me in the direction
and just
asked me that question. And within 2 years, I was on stage at the Improv, inviting her to see me. So it was kind of a really nice story.
That was her way of saying, you're not a good jazz guitarist. You know
what it was with that?
She really put a lot of effort into telling you suck at guitar.
It was a big decision to make that turn because I had invested a lot of time. But I realized I was, when I was 18 or 19, I go, I can't play the guitar 7 hours a day. I couldn't do it. Like to be as good as I wanted to be, I couldn't have put the time in. So, comedy was the perfect escape.
So the documentary is all about basically, it's twofold. It's about how you did stand up all through the 80s and
through the 80s and 90s.
And 90s.
Yeah.
And then you basically, it sort of is a dual thing. On the one hand, it's why you stopped and your then the fact that you've just started to come back and do it again. And then it also sort of shows all the people you started with who ended up making it, or a lot of them who ended up making it big.
Yeah, they did pretty well, the ones that I interview in the film.
Couple recognizable.
You got some good names.
Yeah.
And these were people that you were like,
contemporaries.
Yeah, contemporaries.
Yeah.
With. Yeah.
I mean, Larry David was a little further moved on, but I
never heard of him.
He's this. I don't know if you know him, but the real contemporaries would have been Susie Essman and Colin Quinn. We were like kids together in comedy, and Joy too. Although Joy was older, but she had started at the same time, so we were all hanging out. And then,
so what? Who cares?
Yeah. So we all ended up at Catch a Rising Star.
So cool.
Yeah.
And that was, all of a sudden, we're like, oh my God. We knew it at the time. It was like, this place is, this was the deal to be there. That was
And
the middle of it all.
Were you like a house MC there? Is that what?
Yes, but I earned that. By the way, I don't know. I don't know if it's still the same here, but being an MC was a big deal. Like, you were in charge of the show. You were the conductor. So, and the original intent of an MC, like in LA, the MC is like, a guy goes on, he's done, he brings up another guy. He doesn't you're supposed to work the crowd and set it up, tee it up for the next guy. If the other guy had too much energy, your job is to direct the crowd. And also, it's great because you can do a lot of time. And
as my mom would say, run the affair.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, the tradition at Catch was, Belzer was like the first big MC.
Yeah.
And you're like the star of the show,
He's
too.
in the documentary.
Yeah, Belzer, then Bill Maher was another one for a long time. So I became one of those guys. And, it was unbelievable. There was 5 shows on the weekend. I would MC all 5 of them sometimes.
Yeah.
So I never had to go anyplace else. I didn't have to go on the road. And I also got a tremendous amount of stage time in front of great audiences and worked with a lot of great people.
And hangout time, because you're there for the whole show.
You got to stay the whole night.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can't just pop into your spot and leave.
Right. So, you pop out and go to the corner or something, but you can't really leave. But it was a wonderful time, and it was a great opportunity. But, there's that distinction between when a lot of people think MC, they don't really understand that was a big deal. Again, in New York it was. Mm-hmm. And it was a tradition, especially there, to get that gig.
There are so many funny people in the documentary, and I want to talk about some of them. But the one who, I don't want to say surprised me, just because, obviously we all know Larry David and Jeff Garlin, and I'm too young to remember Howie Mandel as a comedian. I more know him as just the Deal or No Deal guy, or whatever. Right. He's so funny
America's
in the movie. And he's maybe the funniest interview that you have in the movie. So first of all, did he start with you, or you know him from later?
I knew him because I worked on his hidden camera show. I did some improv acting work.
Yeah, right.
And I don't remember why. He would have been a little bit ahead of me. Like a couple of years ahead. Way more than that. He was already on St. Elsewhere when I started doing comedy, I think.
Yeah.
But we had a connection to him. I knew him a little bit, and my director knew him, and we just asked him to be
where he makes you call your ex-wife.
Yeah, which, by the way, was, I mean, of course, if it was set up, like I would admit it, but believe me, it was not set up.
It didn't seem set up. You could tell from looking at your face that
Okay.
you were not.
Did you get that? Because
Yes.
I was doing my best to control how terrified I was.
Yeah. You could tell from looking at
But
your face it was
man,
not set up.
he's
You were
a
not happy.
genius at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I never asked him if he intended to do that all along. I think he really just came to him organically as we were talking about the reasons why I stopped. And I said one of the reasons was, I was going through a bad marriage, and it just happens, and the conversation starts to lean that way, and then all of a sudden his frickin' light bulb goes on. He goes, "Oh man, I should call his ex-wife."
Yeah.
And he did, and I sat there
Constantly pushing buttons.
oh my god! it
And
was
thank
amazing.
God, like it came through on the first time on the the audio
Yes.
or whatever. Like because nothing would have beaten that first take of like the surprise. Like if you had tried to
Isn't that
recreate it
amazing?
or something.
I never even
Yeah.
thought of that. Like,
Yeah.
and also the fact that she said, "Oh, Howie Mandel," because she's in the business, so she would.
Yeah.
She might expect him to give her a call because she's like book stuff and stuff like that. So that was all, kind of kismet the way it all worked out.
So and Larry David was in, obviously, who you've known for a long from stand up. Is that how Catch?
Yeah, I know. I knew Larry David used to live at the Manhattan Plaza. The subsidized actor housing. It's a great. Everybody was dying to get in that place.
Back when Larry needed a hand.
Yes. Well, but Larry used to. So that was really close to the Improv. It was just a couple blocks away. So when I first passed auditions at the Improv, as you're working your way up the food chain, right before they make you a regular, you do late night MC. So that's when they let the regular MC go home, and it's usually like 1 or 2 in the morning, and that's like, let's see how long this guy can keep people in the house until 4 o'clock. And that's when Larry used to come in, because he used to like to work to like no pressure situations. And so the reason why I got to know him was Larry, of course, was famous for walking off the stage at the slightest.
I was going to ask you
a
about
lipstick
those.
would fall off a table. They go, "That's it. I'm out. You people have no respect." So
Alex just sopping this up with bread.
did I? No, it was amazing. So the reason why I got to know him was because everybody said you can't leave the room when Larry's on, because he'll walk. He'll either do 30 seconds, 30 whatever. You don't know. So you have to watch him. So I watched him all the time.
Yeah, you can't go out for a slice.
And by the way, people talk about whether or not he was a great comedian or not. I mean, obviously he had issues with audience, and he didn't love performing. But he was so funny, and he had great material. And when he was on, it was really wonderful to see. So I got a chance to see him in every kind of aspect. And, and because I was there so late and I had to do that, I would hang out at the bar, and I got to know him. And, we played softball together and all that. He was a great guy.
And one of the great stories in the documentary is how you turned down the gig of the audience warm-up for Seinfeld.
I had completely forgotten about that story, and Colin was the one that...
Oh, really?
He's the one... Oh, I got to tell you the story about Louis. He turned down the Seinfeld, because he never forgot it either.
Well, we just talked with our friend Stephen Smith about just like turning down...
Oh, yeah.
He turned down American Idol.
He was a guy who was on a VJ, and he turned down the other Seacrest...
The Dunkelman spot.
He didn't necessarily
They still have a Dunkelman spot?
No, but in the very beginning, he was working at VH1, and they brought him in for like 3 auditions, and by the 4th audition,
like, this isn't going to be anything.
This isn't going to be anything.
The new American Idol.
No, the original.
Oh, the original. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
So, you want me to tell that story?
Yeah,
sure.
please.
So what happened was... what had happened was...
I don't want to give... First of all, I don't want to give away too much of the documentary, because I think people should see it, but I also want to give them a taste.
I don't think it's like a spoiler, really.
No, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good stories.
Taste of all the good, because this is like an example of one of the many good showbiz stories.
So when we were interviewing Colin, and actually it was really, as you can tell, I don't know if you do or not, but that was all pre-interview. Like, we were just talking.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I don't know, because I was talking to the camera, and he was talking, we were talking to, they were setting up or something, or we didn't really realize that they were shooting this. And of course, it ended up being great, and we put it in the film. But he brought up this time when Larry offered me the job of warm-up for Seinfeld. Now, to put it in context, I was,
Sorry, at the beginning, or it's a hit already at this point?
No, it's It's not the very, very beginning, but it's
Right.
not like a huge hit yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of maybe a year or two into it, or maybe a year into it. It was very close to the beginning. Maybe when after they got picked up after the
The
Chronicles.
first, like 4. Yeah, the Chronicle years.
So, as Colin was saying, it was like, we were like, we're going to get our own shows. There was this stigma, like you didn't want to be the warm-up guy. You wanted to have your own thing.
Sure.
You didn't have that perspective of like, it's important to have a job.
Yeah. You need a day gig.
But at the time, I was working a lot. I was doing commercials. I mean, I was an up-and-comer, and I just didn't think that...
steady paycheck.
I was really kind of a dick about it. I mean, it wasn't like Larry didn't, nobody had a problem with it. They
Sure.
understood, but, of course, in hindsight, it was a dumbass move because I literally could have been that guy for the whole run of the show. Now, the other thing that's amazing about it is this is what the job description of that show was. And I talk about it in the film. This is why it's even more regretful. Your job, the first thing you do is go, ladies and gentlemen, hey, how's it going? Yeah, blah, blah. Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
He comes up.
And then he does his material.
He does 15, 20 minutes, and everybody's like, oh, my God. They're so happy just to see him. And so, you sort of pick up some of that vibe that you're the guy that brought Jerry up. They don't know who you are. But they're completely...
But you did get to be on Seinfeld.
I was just going to say, you later were in an episode.
I did, yeah. I had a small role, but I did... that was way after. I mean, that was years and years after. I'm telling you this story because I ended up doing it once because they just said, we really need somebody because the guy that did it all the time couldn't do it one time. And I did it, and I was describing this because it brought home even more what a mistake this was. So Jerry does his set, and also there's a live band there, by the way, too.
They had a band?
There was a band. It was.
I don't think I ever knew they had a band.
It's just a bassist going.
The day that I was there was a live band. Jerry did it. Jerry always would do a set. And also, they were like, the show's now a hit. This is now it's already an institution. And they would be like, they wanted to show the audience an episode to put a fresh laugh track on it. So I'm like, hey guys, you want to see an episode that you haven't seen? Yeah. So it was just all that. And then now, because classically, and this is another thing. I had done warm up before in nightmare situations.
Right.
I had to do warm up on a show in New York. I did for a sitcom that was so bad that they used to clap when I came back on. I'm not kidding. And I had to be, and it was the same audience every week. Nuns bust in, and 8 hours I would be out there. So I had a horrible kind of experience with it. I didn't.
Murphy Brown.
Yeah, I just, and Seinfeld ran like a top. I mean, it was like almost, they almost didn't even do retakes, So, you'd be in and out of there in 2 hours. And then the part about doing comedy or talking to the audience didn't exist because Larry would be like, don't just tell them where we are in the script. I just want the audience to know where we are, what's going on. So they're always ready to, that was it. And I could have done that for 8 years.
Wow. Well,
didn't work out.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Now you have an award-winning documentary.
Yes.
I know, right? What was the award you just won?
We were just, the reason why I'm in town, we were picked for the Long Island Film Festival.
Mazel.
And we won Best Documentary, feature documentary. Yeah.
So now you're taking the documentary around to different festivals and trying to get people to see it and
get it on Netflix.
Well, we actually already do have a distribution deal, so it just happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
More congratulations.
Yes.
So is it going to be like on streaming and stuff?
Well, that stuff is all to come. I mean, they figure out their strategy. I think they're going to run it in a theater for a couple of weeks in New York.
Well, your timing is good because it's like the golden age of documentaries right now.
And comedy on streaming.
Yeah,
So like there's tons of both of those.
Yeah,
so I just people will find it.
I think obviously the perfect place for it would be Netflix, but hopefully that'll happen.
I want to talk more, but also real quick, the other person that I want to mention that was in the documentary was Kevin Meaney before he passed away, which is very sad. But it's a great. You have lunch with him.
Yes.
And
in the Green Kitchen, by the way, next to where Catch used to be.
Wow.
That's where we used to hang out.
And it must have been pretty shortly before he passed away.
It was. That was in April, and he passed away in like that winter, December, I think. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I think it was the last time he ever did anything like that.
He was one of those guys where after he died, so many people
discovered him.
Yeah, basically remembered.
Yeah, Kevin
how funny.
was one of those guys. It's such a rare thing. He was just complete silliness, but there wasn't anybody who didn't think he was funny.
Yeah.
The most grizz, like Bill Hicks would probably watch him and go, oh, he's fucking great, So that's the way he was. Everybody loved him. And he would do the same act all the time, and you still loved it. He just had that thing about him.
It's so funny because I remember I was so excited. I mean, I was like 12, but I was so excited for the Uncle Buck TV show.
Oh, yeah.
That was my, and you know what's funny? It was, and I'm probably the only person who remembers this, but it was on at the same time and night as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It premiered the same year.
And you chose Uncle Buck.
I'm the only person who chose to watch Uncle Buck.
Obviously, you were the only person.
Yeah, but he's great in the documentary. And
it's also Kevin was in the closet.
Yeah,
we talk about that, and I mean, his story is amazing too.
Yeah.
That's something you should see the movie for, because it's worth seeing it just for that.
It might be one of his last on-screen.
I think
maybe
it was
his last on-screen thing.
I think it was.
So you got out of. Did you basically completely quit doing stand-up at some point?
Yeah, I mean that was most people like you go into you do stand-ups and then you go into something else, but you always keep a toe in it.
It was interesting for me to watch because I think in many ways I've followed a similar career path to you, where and Andrew too, to a certain extent, where I used to do stand up all the time, and then the day jobs start to happen, and I've started to work on writing jobs and things like that. I never fully dropped it like you did. You actually sort of have gone through years where you didn't do stand up, and then you've sort of dip your toe back in. Exactly. I've always sort of even at my barest minimum done a couple of gigs a month just to keep my toe in.
Well, that is keeping it going, and in the beginning I was doing that. The problem was too psychologically when I was in New York. I used to do it so much, 3-4 times a night,
and you're able to in New York.
I was, and I basically could work at will, and I was just, I came so accustomed to doing so much time that when I moved to L.A., we talk about this in the film too. Even if you're doing well out there, 2 spots a week at that time, was good. But I felt like I was, atrophying. It was, I just hated, I needed to be on all the time, and I couldn't do it. So it was frustrating. And then I had all this extra time to fill, and that's when I took my first writing gig, because I wasn't interested in doing that. I wanted to perform, but I had to make a living too.
Sure.
Even though I was doing commercials and some acting work too. My first writing gig was Make Me Laugh for Comedy Central, the reboot of Make Me Laugh.
I remember Make Me Laugh.
Yeah, with
Mark
Ken
Cohen.
He was the second host. Kenny was a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I started in stand-up with
I've
him
referenced that show a few times recently, just because new sort of versions of that are happening now with Comedy Knockout and the other one.
And also the format
similar
for that show still exists, and there are people that are trying to make it happen still, because every 20 years that show comes back on.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and really, in a way, At Midnight has twinges of it, because it's really comedians sort of competing.
Yeah.
Against each other with their material.
That was a fun experience. It was my first gig, and I was the head writer. My first writing job, they made me the head writer because they didn't have anybody who was in comedy. So I was kind of fresh out of comedy, which was great. But I loved the idea that I didn't, that I could go someplace, and I was so tired of just being home. I just wanted to go someplace and do something that was related to writing and comedy. But
sure.
And a lot of these jobs are really fun. I mean, you sit around with a bunch of funny people
was a lot of
crack
fun.
jokes. And
Exactly.
it's sort of like being at a stand-up club,
By the
except
way,
it's not at 2 a.m.
Yes, the greatest green room experience ever was on that show, because we were taping on Vine Street I forget the name of the studio, but it's a very small studio, and ESPN had a show there, a talk show. I forget that guy's name. It was a one-on-one show, and there was also some kind of Playboy Channel porn show and our show. So, and it's a very tight place. So there's these 3 green rooms. So like at any moment you could see like Kenny Lofton walking out with Pat Cooper. You know, it was just awesome.
And then Shannon Tweed.
Yes, exactly. Shannon Tweed, ladies and gentlemen.
That's awesome.
I like that you went Shannon Tweed.
I don't know. I just tried to guess.
It was kind of
who
the-
would be in Playboy when Kenny Lofton
It was kind
playing,
of the perfect reference.
Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah, that would be
Shannon Tweed had that semi-porn thing going on, but she was respected. Wasn't she the one that was married to the Kiss guy?
Yes.
Yes, I think still is maybe.
Yeah.
Jessica Hahn.
Jessica Hahn would have been a good one.
Yes.
And so now, wait, are you back doing stand-up?
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, look, I don't really know what it means to be back doing stand-up now because back when I did it in the day, whatever, but we used to do it and make money doing it. You could make a living doing it. Now it's like you're either Louis C.K. or you're some guy at an open mic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no in between.
Yeah, sure.
I guess you can force the issue, but everything's so fractional, and if you want to make a steady living at it, you got to go down to Florida and do the baby boom retirement homes or cruise ships. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to do stand-up. So I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, I'm going on clubs and I've experimented with bar gigs, open mics. By the way, when I started doing stand-up, an open mic was an audition. Yeah, you went on an open mic at Catch a Rising Star or the Improv. If they liked you, you're in. Now you hang out. Open mics now are comics doing 5 minutes in front of 20 comics. I'm like, dudes, what are you guys doing? You're better off standing in front of a mirror with a hairbrush. You'll get a better experience out of it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
The most you get out of that audience is the ha!
Right.
Well, they're even worse now than
first of all, they're all doing this while you're on.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I was starting,
all on their
and I did
phones.
open mics, the worst case scenario was like somebody was looking at their notebook.
Right.
Now it's like looking at the phone it's like nobody's paying attention.
The other thing is that traditionally, again, an open mic, people used to go to open mics. Real audience people would go.
Yeah.
It was a thing, and so that's different.
You know what? You know where they do that still? Smaller cities.
Yeah.
Like if you have, like we were talking about Philly or with somebody, and it's like it's like if you have a club with one city. And like
a city with one club?
A city with one club. Like, the only place to get up or to even see comedy on a Wednesday night there is to do the open mic. So people go to the open mic and people go see it.
So again, I have this Rip Van Winkle experience where I had this one life doing it, and then I come back and I see what the scene is like now. So again, we all within, I don't know, within a year or so, you could be out making a living doing it.
Yeah, right.
And there were the road gigs in Jersey and one-nighters, but you could pay your phone bill with that gig, and you could do that. You can't make any money doing stand-up unless you're
unless you really break through.
And my experience now is that the only kind of places I like to play are the comedy clubs, because at least I know that people are there to see comedy.
Sure.
So I've been working at the Comedy Store some. I'm working at the Improv a little bit. And also because they don't know me from anywhere. Like Jeff says in the movie, they don't know who you are and they don't care, which is fine. But I'm literally having to sort of break back in too. It's like I'm not getting any slack about, just put them on, So, but it's been interesting. But I've had some sets, and like if you do it, if you have that set, like that one thing where you're completely in the groove, it just makes you feel like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. I just need time. I just need stage time.
Sure.
So that's where I'm at. And if I was here, I think what I should do is come back here. I don't know if I could do it, but if I could do some immersion, 30 to 60 days of just doing it every day.
Embed yourself.
Yeah.
Like a reporter.
It works. There's two reasons. One is because you can probably do more sets in New York, although you can probably do a lot more now in LA than you used to.
Yeah.
There's more clubs and
I
with
gotta
Uber
be,
and you can get around.
Yeah.
But also, the other thing is I found, like when I go out to LA for a week and I say like, hey, I'm only in town for X, can I get on the show? People are much more receptive as opposed to like when you live here and people are like, oh, hey, can I get on sometime? It's like, a couple
back of the line.
So living in LA, I have to pretend that I don't live there anymore.
Exactly.
And every couple of weeks I just say, hey, look,
I'm
I'm in
passing
town.
through.
That's actually really a great idea.
That's
a good hack.
That would really work.
That's a good comedy hack.
Yeah, pretend like you
Just
live.
pretend that you're passing through.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's got sets for
Pretend you moved here. You just got to get a post office box.
I'm on my friend's couch.
Yeah. Did you have anything else, or should we talk about we were going to do Lou's?
No, I'm excited for Lou's Day because we have a fun spin on it.
Yes. What are we going to do? We're going to.
I think instead of asking you about a typical day now, we both and Alex alike, we would love to hear what a typical day, start to finish, was like doing stand up in like 85.
Wow.
Like a road, like
in
a
New
road,
York.
like like on the road or in the city.
Well-
what's more interesting?
I think it was more interesting here because on the road it was like you went to the
hotel.
mall and you
Okay.
did your set
All right.
and that was it.
Right. It's like a camp day off.
So,
movie.
what's the peak of your stand-up career in New York City? What year? Where
I would say in terms of when you say peak, you mean in terms
that
of
you're
just
doing
being,
the most sets? You're doing
probably 1986.
Okay.
So
So you wake up what time in the morning?
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
where were you living?
Wow.
Wait, hold on. Where were you
I'm
living?
living
Yes.
in Queens, in Whitestone,
Got it.
Queens, and I'm actually driving a car into the city every night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that where you? Is that near? You grew up near there? Or you?
I have relatives that are from there. I actually grew up further east out on the island,
Yeah.
and I lived there, later on. But so that's where I ended up.
So
and I
you're-
lived in Manhattan before I moved to LA.
So you're in Whitestone, Queens.
yes.
You're doing stand up.
You wake up at
I wake up at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. I open the blackout curtains. I have a cup of coffee.
Because you were out. Because the night before you were out
is-
till how long? We kind of have to back up, probably.
Well, the comedy clubs, you would literally be in the comedy clubs until 4 a.m.
yeah.
And there's audience in there at 4 a.m.
Yes, and then you went out.
Yeah.
And you'd go to after hours clubs, and you
Right.
were just racing
Holy
against the
moly.
sun. You
So-
wanted to get home before
And
the
that's
sun
on
came
like
out.
and that's on a Tuesday.
Yes, the weekends especially, but even on a Tuesday, because what happened? When I tell you, I'm not kidding. When I say I'm not exaggerating, 5 o'clock, I literally had flipped my mic. I flipped my whole, circadian rhythm. I was a complete night person for about 2-3 years.
Wow. So you wake up
Yeah.
at 5 p.m., have a cup of coffee, breakfast, or
Well, maybe let's see. Because like dinner for me then would have been. I would eat dinner like around 10 o'clock at night.
yeah.
I should have been in Australia or something. I don't know. So you'd get up and you'd have a cup of coffee and you'd make some phone calls. Look at the thing in the movie where Larry's talking about how comics would just call each other at 4 o'clock in the morning. And
Yeah.
it was, and then I would wait till.
And you're on an actual phone.
Yeah.
Yes. We had
Tethered by a cord.
Yes, and answer. Well, no, actually, yes.
Into the
because
wall.
the cordless phones didn't really happen until what, the late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s, with the big antennas. And we all had answering machines with cassettes in
Sure.
there, and we had the little thing that looked like an iPod that you would beep into the phone so you could pick up your message
Yeah.
remotely, which was like the height of technology, unless you lost that thing. So I'd get up at 5, have a cup of coffee, make a bunch of phone calls, probably head into the city. The first sets would have been around 9:30 at night, maybe.
Would you write?
Yeah. But, the thing about writing in those days was I would write on the run. I would think of stuff, I'd write it down.
Yeah.
And I had so much access to the stage that I would literally go up and work it out on the
Yeah.
stage, which
Yeah.
is like, I wouldn't recommend it if you have a limited amount of stage time.
What were you driving in 86?
It was a what was that car? I got it from my mother. It was like a Buick something. It was like, this was great because the car,
Like a Cutlass Supreme?
yeah, something
A
like
LeSabre?
that. It was an Apollo. Do you remember? Is that
Wow.
a car? But it had like body rot on it. Here was the reason it had a perfect
Body rotten till that house
Yeah.
tonight.
But it was a perfect driving a car to the city car because it had a great engine. Like the guts of the car
Yeah.
were great,
Yeah.
but it looked like shit. I used to leave the windows open and park it on the street in New York, and
Yeah.
nobody ever messed with it. But it was a great car. So, but in the winter it was terrible.
Yeah.
Tape deck in the car?
There may have been a cassette deck in there.
Listening to Foghat?
No, 86. I would have been listening to the Police.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, Robert Palmer.
Sure.
All right.
Addicted to Love was
Simply Irresistible.
Addicted to Love was a big
At
song
this
in that
day
time.
in
And also,
1986.
let's not forget, too, that was the year the Mets won the World Series.
I know.
I'm a huge Met fan. They used to come into the club, dude. That's how on top of the world we were.
Yeah.
Davey Johnson, the manager, would come
Tim
in. the
Tuffle.
players- Yes.
So you're
Giving you
and
standing
you're like
L.
kind of watching the game, sort of in the club.
Yes.
Lukey Wilson.
Yeah.
In fact, when they won the famous Game 6 in 1986, I was emceeing both shows that night.
Wow.
And I had a Sony Watchman, and I was in the
That's
coat
a mini
room.
TV, folks.
Yes, kids.
My dad had one.
It's before your phone did that. And I was the one that broke the news. There was a huge crowd coming in for the show. And I just remember telling somebody, the Mets just won the game. I can't believe it. And it was like this wave of, people flipping out.
Yeah.
And I went to Game 7, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So,
cool.
bucket list.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway,
So first club you get to, it
could be the Improv.
Yeah.
It could be Catch. If I'm emceeing, I'm just going to go to some club and I'm going to stay there all night.
Right.
If I'm doing sets, I'm going to meet somebody. We're going to, hey, you want to go to the Wicked Wolf on 75th Street and get something to eat? I don't even know if that's still there. It was this little restaurant.
I guarantee you it's not.
Yeah, I guarantee you. I'm sure it's a faux house or whatever the hell. or a photo mat. Remember those?
Now it's an Aubon Pan.
It's a poke bowl.
Yeah,
it's a poke restaurant.
Poke. There's talk about a bubble, boy. The poke bubble.
We're living in it.
I know.
We are living in it.
How much poke do you need, folks?
I enjoy the poke.
Oh my God, there's such a funny bit there of like Dennis Miller or Carson or somebody like that comedian talking about modern things.
Yes.
Oh yeah, modern Dennis Miller would be a great Twitter parody account.
So I went to the poke house. Cha-cha. Talk about an industry.
I'm on my Samsung.
Talk about an industry you shouldn't be investing in about now.
Pilot told me I have to turn off my buck before I get on the plane. And
well, I used to
my Samsung Galaxy
I used to work
battery.
with him.
Oh yeah,
a lot at Catch. Yeah, he used to come in.
I love Dennis.
Dennis, in those days, man, he was a devastating comedian. He was amazing.
Yeah.
And a really good guy too. I mean, he was very helpful to me. And when I came out to LA the first time, he let me use his place. And
nice.
Yeah.
So
I haven't talked to him in a while.
Who was the first of your contemporaries that burst? And you watched
of
it
those
happen?
people that I hung out with in those days.
Like your crew. Not like people that adjacent, your crew.
Really, really closest friend that made it pretty big right away was Ken Ober.
Wow.
On Remote Control.
Yeah.
On MTV. And he became an MTV star. It was weird because at the time, we didn't realize the magnitude of that. We just thought, oh, MTV.
Well, MTV was new.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also was this huge generation of people.
Yeah.
It was it was a staying power kind of fame. And also Colin was on the show
Sure,
too.
yeah.
So both of those guys. And then, they had a really big kind of cult following and they were very popular. But the real, probably the biggest mainstream success was probably Meanie because he went on the Tonight Show and it was like that classic.
Yeah.
Goes on the Tonight Show, kills, gets a sitcom, all of that.
He's out there, yeah.
That was the paradigm in those days, right?
Yeah. What's actually interesting now that I think about it, about the documentary, is a lot of the people in it, it actually took them a long time to really break. Like people like Susie Essman or Jeff Garlin, like both of them really were doing it forever before they sort of both threw curb, really.
Well, it goes back to to the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is 10 years.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
But you know what? It's like, that's, by the way, another thing that's missing in today's comedy world because everybody just declares themselves
the ability
to
to tell time.
Yeah, well, the ability to do the work.
All you have to do to be a comedian is just say comedian
Just
in
say
your
you're
Twitter
a comedian.
bio.
And you also, exactly.
And you're a comedian.
I know. That's why it's a little, crowded right now.
Yeah.
But it always has a way of shaking out. Just like poke, it'll burst.
Yeah.
So where were we?
But you
When
didn't.
you were saying the 10,000 hours.
Yeah. Oh.
Why that's BS.
Well, no, I don't
or
think
what's missing.
It's not BS.
What's missing from that equation?
I think you said it took a while for those people to break. Well, they were out there working all these years and getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And
so
that's
when it
pretty
did
much
happen, they were ready.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's really it. And also still had, the act ready to go and ready to capitalize on that with now the popularity that they have. Colin, by the way, I think is probably the one guy that I admire the most in terms of how dedicated he was to stand-up. And then look what he did with it as far as doing his shows,
Yeah.
Because I actually worked with him on his first show. I helped him write the Irish Wake. And then, he wanted to take his stand-up into that place. Mm-hmm. And he did it. But, again, he bombed a lot back in the day.
What was
he was
young
very, very,
Colin like?
He was...
Because we all know what, sort of curmudgeonly...
Right. Well, young Colin was a great. Well, first of all, one of the funniest people you'll ever meet. I mean, literally one of the funniest people.
The cadence,
on and off stage.
the mannerisms.
Yeah. and the references and all of that. My big regret was that I didn't know Colin when he drank. I would have loved to have been around that. But I got to work with him too, which was, writing with him was a great experience too. But he's very inspiring because he hung in there. The dark ages of comedy. That's another reason why I got out of it. Was when in the mid '90s, it was like the dark ages. It was just the alternative scene was happening.
Those geeks.
That was just like, hey, you can do comedy and not get laughs. That's good. I don't know. No, I mean, no, there was a lot of good stuff that came out of that. But the scene and the availability of clubs and stage, it was like a depression. It was like the clubs were being shuttered. It was just like as extremely great as it was.
Yeah, Catch
2 years.
was closing.
Yeah, Catch closed. The Improv closed.
Yeah.
It was depressing,
How many drinks you have when you're driving around the city at all night going to
okay.
shows?
You want to get into that, the intake? When I was at Catch, I would drink Stoli on the rocks in a wine glass, about 5 inches big.
Yeah.
It looked like a big glass of water. And I would probably have about 5 of those throughout the night.
But your juice, your adrenaline is pumping at such a level that you're not really feeling it.
Exactly.
That's what I would guess.
And something else
and
might
also
be counterbalancing it.
Then there was the powder adrenaline.
Oh.
Yeah, it was 5 hour
protein.
It was
protein.
5 hour energy from Colombia. No, there was a lot of coke in those days. Because it was the perfect drug.
Your nose is bleeding right now.
Is it? Yeah. Well, I don't even know if there might be some membranes missing, but that was a whole other part of it, and I make no bones about it. It was what it was. I'm not saying
comes up in the
I'm not saying that everybody did it, but most people did.
Sure.
It was great because, to be honest, to be technical, the feeling that you get when you have a great set is indescribable, but it's this incredible rush, and the only thing that was remotely like that was cocaine and alcohol together.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
So you can keep that going.
You're listening, kids.
That's right, kids. Just
try some.
Did you ever get pulled over? I mean, you must have been. You're driving all over the place.
Or did they not give
I
a
never
shit
got
in
pulled
86?
over. No, you know what it was? Like in New York, I don't know, man. Nobody cared. Like,
there was other things happening.
yeah,
that was
exactly.
way more important than a comic.
Exactly. That's what I always appreciated about the NYPD as opposed to the LAPD. The LAPD was always sticking their nose into crap that has not, like, your radio's too loud. Pull over. Like stuff like that. And here, they were like, if you were walking on the street with a beer, like, come on, man, put that in a bag. You're making me look bad,
They were part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, they were, exactly.
Until Giuliani came along.
Yes, Giuliani time.
Did you have anything else, or did you want to get to the
Dinkins?
I mean, I could ask like comedian questions all day, but we'll get to the blow off.
Okay,
and I'll think of a good one to end on.
How do you blow people off? Is there a way that is there a story recently or a time when you've
Well, it's really painful when you're in a situation like with these festivals and stuff, and especially in this case because now my family's all here, right? So tons of people are hanging out. They all want to talk to you. You're being inundated, and you're realizing I got to prioritize here because I mean my sister who I haven't seen in 4 years, I got to talk to her instead of some guy. It becomes like a nightmare.
Yeah.
So. It's trying, and I don't want to be, a dick about it, but I want to politely. I've gotten better at this. I used to be more like, I guess I would just shut down if I was talking to somebody and I wanted to move on. I would just be like, yeah, I got to go. I just, I don't know. I just wasn't even subtle about it. So, now I think it's more like, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah.
Let's pick this up.
Right, exactly, and it works. I'm gonna call. Yeah, I'm gonna call you, and we're gonna finish this. But I got to go talk to that guy now.
And do you call them?
But I mean, what? Yeah, sometimes no. I don't know. I do. Yeah, of course. I mean, it depends on who it is. But I don't. How do you deal with that? How would you deal with a situation like that? How do you deal with that? How do you when you have a massive group of people?
I'm
right?
terrible. I overextend myself.
Yeah. Because I like to give people the time. I really do.
Yeah.
I like to talk to anybody that's nice enough to want to talk to you about something that you did and all that. It's a compliment.
I feel like if you have one moment with the person, it makes it easier to get out of the... Like, if you have, like, one thing that you say to them like a memory that you share,
Right.
or like a funny inside joke that you have, or like, oh, I'm glad you're here because XYZ, and then it's personal to them, it's much easier to get out of it, because then it's much easier to be like, oh my God, it was so great seeing you, I got to talk to the other people, because then they felt like they shared
There
a real
was some
connection with you.
meaningful connection.
So you're talking about a smooth segue out as opposed to it's really obvious I'm blowing you off right now because I got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I pull it off all the time. I'm
No,
saying that's the ideal.
Let
That's
me
where
ask you this.
Yes.
In 86, somebody says, you have your evening's worth of sets, but a hot date materializes. Would you blow off a
question.
night of stand-up to have a social life, or would you blow off the date because it's the night of stand-up, it's your living, it's your craft?
I would not.
What was your night off?
Yeah, well, I mean, mainly we would take nights off, entire nights off. Like Monday maybe you wouldn't work, but in terms of that, I would just always work it around. I didn't want. I don't think I ever canceled a set because of something like that. I feel like I didn't have to. There was so much time in the night to, look, if you want to hang out at 3:00 this morning, I'll see you then. And then I'll be up. Right. So it was more like that, the social scene.
Or like come by the club.
Yeah, come by the club. Which was actually a great way to meet people and hang out with people, because that was a very happening thing to do anyway.
Then they'd see you at your...
They'd see you in your world and
in the
in your
spotlight.
domain.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive.
If the Mets have a day game at 1 p.m., do you set the alarm to make sure you see it, or do you just sleep through it?
I never liked day games. Never. Even today, I don't like day games.
Oh, really?
I don't like to go to day games. I don't like to be in the sun.
Yeah.
The best thing that ever happened to baseball was lights.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
And the designated hitter.
Well, let's get into that discussion. Oh, this is Sean from New Jersey.
Long time, first time, long time. First time, long time.
We'll save it for the next episode.
Yeah.
So tell people where the documentary.
How do we
the
find
name,
the doc?
And then where there's somewhere coming up that's.
Well, we're going to be in the Woodstock Comedy Festival in September. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to that?
I haven't. No.
Where have you gone, Lou DiMaggio?
Yes, it's called Where Have You Gone, Lou DiMaggio. It has a lot of great comedians in it. Larry David, Colin Quinn, Ray Romano. We didn't even talk about Ray.
Oh
we
my
didn't
God,
talk
he's
about
great.
Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's having a whole second
He's having a wonderful
career right now.
Yeah. I think last thing I heard was he's going to be in the new Scorsese movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That one about, am I right?
The Big Sick is awesome, by the way.
I heard, yeah.
So
anyway, the Woodstock Comedy Festival is September 16th to 18th, and that'll be in Woodstock.
Yeah.
We have another thing in Middlebury, Vermont, which is a first-time filmmakers festival.
Yeah.
But we're kind of done with the festival, so hopefully I can't...
you got the deal. So.
Yeah, we have a distribution deal, so I can't say to you, you'll definitely be able to see it on this or that. That's all going to be figured out, but it will be released either the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
Can't wait. So
And
Where have you gone, Lou DiMaggio? Are you on social media?
yes. Oh, yes. I'm at Lou DiMaggio, LOUDIMAGGIO, Twitter. Yeah, I'm at Lou DiMaggio. Whatever it is, it's just my name.
And Instagram.
Instagram, same thing. Yeah, I know, because I need the followers, man.
Yeah.
Let's
you talk about that in the movie.
Yeah.
Let's blow up Lou's social media.
Blow me up, man.
Well, I gave you one of your earliest big retweets.
Yes.
About Cal Ripken's mother disappearing. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's again, right? Those are those perfect jokes that drop out of the sky.
We were together working on Pyramid when Cal Ripken's mother disappeared.
Cal Ripken's mother was abducted. So I think
Lou just out of the blue just says, "Oh, I guess Cal Ripken's mother broke her 77-year streak of not being abducted." And I said, "You got to tweet that."
That's so
and he tweeted it, and I retweeted it, and the tweet blew up. Yeah, it was a great joke.
Yeah, I mean, so my problem.
Did they ever find her?
They
Yeah.
did. It was like a day later. It made it.
Where
okay.
was she?
Yeah, I don't know.
It was such a bizarre story.
She was at third base.
Who's abducting Cal Ripken's mother? What is that? What is the point of that?
It's a good ransom.
Yeah.
You know, Derek Jeter's mother, I get. You know, she's
Tim Tuffle's mother.
exactly.
That's so
He loves the Tim Tuffle.
Kenny
reference.
Lofton.
Wally Backman.
Wally Backman.
This has been awesome, dude. So
Yeah, it was a
fun.
pleasure.
And
Thanks for coming down.
stay busy, everybody.
Stay busy, everyone.
Cause I'm busy. Whenever I get with her, say I'm busy. And I'm gonna hit you later cause I'm busy. Busy with her.